This is a tuning pin. Okay, the way it looks out of the piano. Okay, notice the features. We've got a hole right there. Oh, that's not in focus. We got a hole. We've got a threaded portion that's not very deeply threaded. Okay, it's just stamped on there threading so that you can get it out when you need to. But when you turn it, it does go down. Okay, it's not tapered. It's straight. It goes into a hole straight. And the top is a square head, which is why most of our tuning levers, here's a square head right here. Most of our tuning levers are star tipped, meaning that there's 8 points, or 8 sides. So anyway, you can go at the 45. You can hold your tuning hammer in different positions. They come in different lengths. They come in different diameters. I'm going to be stringing tonight, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a little intro to stringing just here on the whiteboard, okay, before I get going to work. So, I had a marker. Oh, here it is. All right. This looks like a coiled up snake, but it's not. It's a tuning pin coil or a piano string coil, okay? So this is our goal. This is, what am I trying to say? Okay, so here's our tuning pin. We've got our hole that goes through the middle, right? When we coil the wire, we bend the wire so that it has a part like this, and then the coil goes from there, okay? And then comes out on the right side so that when you turn the tuning pin clockwise, it gets tighter, right? And when you turn it the other way, counterclockwise, it gets looser, right? So, one of the things with stringing is my goal is to have it be at the factory standards or better as far as what they go for, okay? So we want the pin is going to be driven down beneath the plate to about, right about there or so. And then it's going to go into this wood block, all right? And that holds it. And then this is a hole that goes through here. All right. And so the tuning pin, we're going to drive it to about this point, right about where the threading is right about at the top of the plate. And then we might turn it down lower, and it's going to get slightly lower as the string stretches out over time and it's tightened, it's tuned, it's tightened. We want the coils, we want this bend to go all the way through this hole so it has real deep purchase in there, okay? And then we want the coil to come around here, and we want, how many coils do we want? We want 3 coils, okay? So now on the piano, now how do we achieve this? Okay, how do we get the 3 coils on the pin? What determines that? Okay, it can be kind of a mystery when you haven't thought through it much yet. And then it's pretty simple after that. So let's do this. All right, here's our piano. Let's say we have our piano here, okay? All right. And we have a tuning pin here. And let's say we have 3 tuning pins for a note here, okay? And they're kind of in a row like this, all right? And the strings come off of them like so, all right? They go over the bridge, right here. Then they're going to be deflected. Then they're going to come off the bridge, okay? But what happens on this end? Let me show you. So what we have is we'll have a situation where we'll have one tuning pin and another tuning pin. The string's going to come off of here, follow a path, and then there's a little pin here, okay? And it's going to go around the pin and become the next string. Sometimes these will be the same pitch, sometimes they'll be tuned a half step off from each other. But most of the strings on this piano are going to be like this. They're a shared string, okay? Like this. That's a string if you can't see that. So what determines how many coils we have around the pin? It's the length of the string that we start with, okay? So now getting the coils, you want, when you have the pin like this, if we're looking at the coil from the top, okay, and it's around a tuning pin here, and we're going to pretend we can see through the tuning pin. This is the Beckett, okay? This is the Beckett bend. We want all the strings rotated where that Beckett bend's roughly in the same place each time, okay? For all the notes, okay? And so on and so forth. That's what we want to end up with for just good craftsmanship and consistency. You have the same number of coils. The coils are tight around. The coils are going to be, if you look at this, this is our tuning pin again. Here's a hole. The coils are going to be tight together, with no space. It's not going to look like this, okay? You like my coil? It's not going to be like this and then, like this and like this. We don't want gaps in the coil. We want them nice and tight together. And we want them rotated the same amount. So we need to cut the string so that each length is the same relative to where the tuning pin is. And so we need a little bit of extra wire right here that's then going to get curled up into that coil. So there's more than one way to achieve this, but the way I like to do it is to measure a wire first. I'm going to measure, I'll have my little coil here with wire in it, and I'm going to pull a wire out, and I'm going to end up with a bunch of wires that are going to look like this. Okay, I'm going to bend them at the midpoint here in a sharp bend. And that's the bend that's going to go around what we call these hitch pins that anchor in the plate. Okay, it's going to come around here, it's going to come around here. Notice I drew a little curvature here because the wire comes out of a big spool, right? And it's coiled. It has a radius and it has memory in it. Now my thinking is that I don't want any weird contortion in the string when we tighten it up. I want it to be more or less consistent string to string. And I've also found that I'll use this curve to my advantage, okay? So when I lay this string into the piano to start stringing it, I'm going to put this curvature facing down, okay? When I put it on the piano, so that it kind of naturally wants to stay in the piano. Then what I need to do to get the same number of coils is I need to measure and cut from the tuning pin hole. Okay, I'll be able to see all these tuning pin holes in the block, and I'll be able to measure from that, cut those, and then I use a little hand tool to pre-coil the string so that it'll be tight. When I set it on the pin for the first time, it'll be somewhat tight, okay? Now, that's the basics of it. Your measurement from the pin and how far you go beyond the pin when this is as tight as you can make it with your hands, because that's all we have, right? And it's going to be much tighter later. But as tight as we can make it with our hands, and then a little bit past that. Now, here's the rule of thumb. 1 inch of wire beyond the tuning pin makes roughly 1 coil, okay? But I use some cutters that when I hit them against my stop, my tool that I use to measure it, it doesn't cut exact, it cuts a little bit out, so I have to take that into account. So my numbers will be a little bit interesting, but Anyway, that's the basic process. We're going to pull a wire off, put it on the piano, measure it, cut it, coil it, stick, it'll be on a tuning pin at that point, right? We have these loose pins. Then I'm going to drive the pins into the block. And then I'm going to go that far for most of them. Now, the Steinway presents an interesting challenge because we have what we call these rear duplex bars. Okay, so here's our plate roughly, okay, something like that. And we have these bars that have steps on them that the wire passes over. Okay, now this bar is loose. It's just floating loose, and the wire will hold it down once we string it, but it starts out loose. And the purpose of this is to have a little length of string right here that has a pitch to it. That pitch will resonate sympathetically with the note on the piano, boing, right? Boing, right here. And it amplifies the sound a little bit. It helps it project. So this is called the rear duplex. So the bar needs to be positioned left to right correctly. It needs to be positioned front to back as best as we can to get a nice consonant resonant pitch if we can. And which isn't always possible, as you'll see. But the challenge is we need to tack this bar down, and then we can throw all the rest of our strings on top of it. And then there'll be another bar, and then another one, okay? So that's one of the main differences stringing the Steinways is these bars. So that's what I go for, is about 3 coils of rotation, ending all at the same place as closely as possible. And the coils are tight up together on the pin. Again, I'll show you what that's like. Want our coils nice and tight together. And they're going to be well-formed coils. I'm going to use a machine to kind of help wrap those really clean and tight so that there's not any extraneous looseness in the wire that will come out over time. We want to eliminate as much of that as possible so that the string will be stable as quickly as possible. So I'm going to go through that, but first, there's a lot of work to do before you can start putting strings on a piano if you want it to look nice, if you want it to look like a new piano. We'll have our brand new plate. I've got to put the plate in the piano. I've got to, put in all the hardware associated with that, a lot of screws, a lot of bolts. Then I need to put decals on the plate for the Steinway that show the string size that we're going to be using. I need to cover those decals. Then I need to put on felt, red felt in different places all over the piano that the string passes over to help mute it in certain areas and allow it to ring in others. So all that prep work has to be done before we start throwing strings on the piano. So I got a lot of work cut out for me. This piano, I've got a big job here. There's someone who bought a piano from another company, and they bought this piano and they want it ready for a party in about, what's today, the 11th, I think. They want it by the 22nd. And it needs to have a player piano system installed in it, and the action needs to work. I've already done some work on the action, the hammers, the dampers, but I need to get it strung and back to the other company for them to put in the player system and get it working as quickly as possible. So I'm working around the clock a little bit, but I thought I would take the time to show you because why not, right? So that's what we're dealing with. So let's get to work. First of all, step one, we got to get the plate in place. So here we have our nicely refinished plate, beautifully lettered already with the black by an expert finisher who does that. I don't do that part. I have my bridge cap. We did some soundboard gluing and repairs on cracks. I did a new bridge cap on this piano. And there's our new pin block. We installed a new pin block, but notice it's not drilled for the tuning pin holes yet. Okay, I got to back up a step. I got to drill for tuning pin holes if we're going to string that, right? So it looks like we're going to be doing that first. But anyway, these are all the things. There's a lot of work to put a piano together. It's a little dusty, but it's been refinished in polyester, brand new shiny. So I also can't ding the piano up, okay? I got to be careful. But anyway, let's get to work here. I'm going to back the camera up, and very first thing we're going to do is stick that plate into that there piano. Now, So I have to locate where our hardware went on this one. Because there's 3 bolts that the plate rests on. I need to install those first, and then, or there's 4 in this piano. I need to install those first, and then we can lower the plate onto the piano. And, which I forgot, I need to put new A-grafts in it as part of that prep too. So there's the A-graft. So you're going to see the whole process. All right, first thing we're going to do is put these bolts that the plate rests on back in. I've numbered them in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this case. I'm going to get some beeswax. And we're going to put those in. I just put some wax on the threads, this beeswax. It helps it go in smooth. These holes have already been threaded, but there's lots of gunk in them. This will help me turn it in much, much easier and adjust it without breaking the bolt. It's quite old. Let me go get an air nozzle. I'm going to show you in here where I'm going. I'm going to put these bolts in those holes right there. But the holes right now currently are filled with some wood chips on this one. So I got to blow it out. And don't look where you're blowing. Or wear safety goggles, right? Okay, this one has the wax on it. This is not a new soundboard, but it's been refinished and it's been repaired. It's just a new bridge cap on here. Okay. We're going to put some beeswax on number 2. Normally I like to wear some nitrile coated gloves to handle all this hardware. Otherwise my hands get really cut up. So I'm going to grab some gloves. These babies right here, I really like using these a lot. They're very handy. So obviously we're starting really from scratch here, you know, where we're having to drill the pin block even before we can string tonight. So put that in there. Going to get it started. This is a Steinway Model M, if you didn't know that. It's what is an M? It's like 5 foot something, 5'6". I want to say it's 5'6", 5'7", something like that. I'm terrible at remembering those numbers for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going to need a crescent wrench or some kind of wrench. This blue tape with the flag shows how far this bolt was down to the soundboard previously. Just as a quick guide for me to quickly determine how far I need to turn it down before I can drop that plate and adjust the height, okay? So my stringing lecture, well, I shouldn't say premature, a little discussing about actually measuring, cutting the strings and all that is a little premature because we got a lot of prep work to do here. But there, the flag is bent against the board. That's probably really close. This one doesn't have a tape flag because we were already using this one over it with the plate in and out, setting the height of these bridges as I planed the wood down to the proper height that the strings are going to pass over. So that's why this one doesn't have a flag. But I think someone else put this masking tape on it, this yellow stuff. I think that might be our guide. We're very close to it. So I enjoy working on something that just is pristine, and you're working with like a metal tool and the bolt, and you can't do any damage. I like that. What's the word for that? That kind of risk. I like that. I like being able to learn how to do it without causing damage. And believe it or not, my experience has shown the more armor and protective coating and things I try and put on the piano, first of all, it takes longer to set up. It's more costly because you have all whatever protective sheet or blanket, whatever I mean, there's a time to use it for sure. I'm talking about this, I'm gonna like drop the wrench on the soundboard. But it takes longer, it's more costly, and I find when things are covered up, sometimes people aren't as careful with them because they don't see what's underneath, and their mind is not triggered to be careful. So sometimes things get dinged up more when they're covered. Someone just assumes, oh, it's covered, I don't need to worry about that. So for me, I like it to just be minimal in my protection of everything, and just be careful, and just get good at being careful. If I had a super short wrench, that would be awesome. But I can turn this with my hand still. This one's going to take a little patience. Can't turn it all 360. By the time, if I do have a small wrench that's short enough that could spin all the way around, by the time I find it, I would have had this bolt all the way in anyway. So it's just worth just being patient with half turns here. Doesn't make for the best TV, you know, probably, but that's all right. I got a job to do. I got to make the job my priority here. So I'm going to see how quickly and well we can get this strung for the company that I'm working for on this one. Okay, so that's good. I can pull off this tape. And if I can't because of my gloves, I'll take my gloves off here. Get that tape off. Yeah, someone previously put tape. So someone did something to this piano in the past, and that's often the case. I'll get pianos after they've already been rebuilt. You know, and we're rebuilding the second time around. I have an acquaintance that says, look, these pianos will be rebuilt, and they'll last 300 years, 500 years. That's what he thinks. I never stretched my mind out that far, but okay, I'll be right back. I need to tend to something, but I'll be right back to continue this. And we're back. All right. So I've got these guys down where I need. Now I need to lower the plate into the piano, obviously, so I can continue. This is the only hardware that goes underneath the plate before you drop it in. Okay. So I need to move this piano a little bit so I can lift the plate. I think I'm going to be moving a few pianos around tonight here to achieve what we need to. All right, here's my lift that makes this job super awesome. This is a variable speed hoist, so you don't sit forever waiting for it to go up and down at this speed. And you can, you can be careful with it. Okay, so this is going to be hooked up in a moment. We need our straps. These are just straps at the cheap hardware store that have a rating that would lift a plate. How heavy is a plate? Gosh, not that heavy. The 9-foots, of course, are the heaviest, but even then, 3 people, 4 people can, 3 people can lift them. The smaller ones, 2 people can lift them, maybe 1, but it's just awkward and they'll hurt their back. So it's pretty easy with 3 straps to triangulate what you're doing and just balance the plate. It's not that hard. I used to just overcomplicate it before, earlier on in doing this, and then I just gathered the straps. I don't need to worry about a specific order or anything because my hoist has a pivoting, spinning hook, right? Swivel on there, and then I just click that in, and that's great to go. Now, my main concern is if it's going to hit the piano on the way up. We don't want that. So, it's probably going to want to come towards me. It's definitely going to want to come towards me. And I have to keep it off of this piano. So I'll just put me in between the piano and the plate. What could go wrong? Right? That's pretty darn balanced. Hey, look at that. Perfectly balanced. I can deal with that. Okay. So here we go. We'll get this cart out of the way. Well out of the way. There's too many projects right now that aren't mine in this shop. Okay, cue the piano in the spot. Now, this piano has been refinished. It's been polished. I gotta be careful. I do. So, if anything, I want the tail to be a little higher as it comes down initially, so that I don't scrape the sides if I can, in any way, shape, or form, avoid it. I'll put my gloves on. We're going to lower this guy into the piano. And uh-oh. Someone's messed with my down switch here. There we go. I'm going to get it close. I'm going to bump the piano that way so that tail goes up a little bit that direction. And I'm going to move the piano to my right a little bit. I'm just trying to keep the tail off of this polished rim is all. So another place I have to be ultra careful is the soundboard here on the front. So I'm going to lower the speed. Then I can in a real controlled way let this lower down. I'm just easy does it. This is the last time hopefully that I'm going to lower this plate into this piano. I can take my time doing it a bit. And I just watch the front here where I am, and I know as long as I'm balanced, it's going to go in fine. That's looking good. I'm going to drop that a little lower. As it starts to touch these bolts, I have to make sure they're going to go through. I have to kind of help it get onto those bolts there. Okay. Here. See what we have here. This bolt didn't quite get under there. Okay, there we go. It's kind of a balancing act at first. Go. We can accelerate that and take it off. Okay, I think we did pretty well. So now we don't need these guys anymore. This out of our way. All right, now we're going to put our hardware into the plate. And we've had our hardware plated for the most part here. Got lots of great newly plated hardware, which is beautiful. Here's these duplex bars I was telling you about, the rear duplex bars that just kind of float there, and they're going to have to be set in a spot. I'm going to start by putting these short screws into the pin block here very carefully. Now these screws were put into this block already, and it's been threaded, it's been tapped, so to speak, when I was doing the process of the bridge caps. So they should go in fairly smoothly without too much wax or anything like that, because I already put some wax in those holes. I want to keep my hardware looking really nice if I can help it. So I think this was like a little guy. I think they're all the same, but you know, I'm a little more familiar with the hardware that goes in the Steinways, but you know, if you didn't know, some people will have a board or something where they put every single screw in the same place, and that's great. I just find it's not necessary. It's pretty quick to sort the different lengths of screws and figure out where they go if you're paying attention. So I'm just kind of back threading these till they get in the threads as much as possible. So when you have screws of different lengths, just set them up, you know, and sort them according to length. And it should become apparent fairly quickly what goes where. I have 5 of one size here. I've got 3 really long ones, and I've got some medium size. So I know that the shorter ones are going to go where this is not as high off the plate. That's not too tricky to figure out. I'm going to put some wax on these guys. Now, let's see here. That head looks a little different. So we need 2 longer ones. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the right size for that. I want to put some wax on these guys. We want some longer ones. Right there. It's a different texture. It's a different screw. So, you like how I'm like, I'm fairly familiar with the Steinway screws. I don't think I need them sorted out, and then I'm all confused. It's just because I got the camera on, I promise. But anyway, we're going to want 2 down here. We need 2 for down here. I think this one, I'm just looking at this one, it's a different gauge. This one was probably, there's one that goes into the pin block, and we probably replaced it with something I had on hand at the time. So that was probably that one. So maybe this is teaching you, no, I really do want each screw kept track of, Hiram. I don't want to be like you, which is fine. I can laugh at myself. Okay. I'm going to stick these guys some of these old plates have this tongue that goes down here. So these screws go right into the belly rail down there. All right. Now, because these are so nicely plated and beautiful, I'm gonna run them in carefully with just a hand screwdriver to start, okay? Once I locate it. Okay, I'm just going to use this little screwdriver here. This little guy. That's a joke, by the way. If you're wondering. Which one did I pull here? What did I pull? What did I do? That one was too long there. I could swear they gave us back extra screws from the platers. I think I have the cheek block screws and everything in the set. That's why some of these, two of these are going to be the cheek block screws. That's what that's going to end up being. What do I got that's shorter than this? What do I got? Shorter than this guy. I got these. Making some sense now. Don't worry, I'll figure it out, I promise. Anyway, I want to get these in here. One down. This one's wrong. Whatever I stuck in here is wrong. There we go. Perfect. Those are all right. And this little guy is going down here too. It's a slightly skinnier, long one that goes down, two of them that go down into this tongue. I don't know the name for this actually. So people say the nose bolt. Sometimes they're talking about these. But this, I think, is actually the nose of the plate, but I don't know that that's a uniform. I don't know if people would come to a consensus on that if you asked several different technicians and rebuilders. So someone probably knows what it's actually called, and that's not me. So you're gonna have to ask someone else on that one. I've always called it the nose or the plate. Okay. Good. Now I'm gonna start running these guys in carefully. And I don't need to really crank on these. This isn't going down the highway at 100 miles an hour. There is a lot of tension on it, but there's also a whole lot of screws here to help. And I want to keep these screws looking beautiful. All it has to do is suck the plate down, suck the block and the plate together, and it's going to do that just by virtue of how many screws and fasteners we have. So you don't need to, break the head off of a screw, tighten it too much, or completely bung up the slot and beautifulness of your brand new screws. You want them to look nice, like a new piano, right? I do. So you probably do too. I want to keep these looking just so nice. So, if one gets tight, I'll just stop there and keep fastening and then go back to it, kind of like lug nuts. I could use a drill here, but the drill has proven to make accidents from time to time at this stage of the game. So I don't want those accidents. All right, well, we made a good mess of me with that whole, oh, I know what screw goes where business. Just typical. I hope you can appreciate that I put myself out there by doing these streams live vulnerably, and and then I laugh at myself once in a while and that I make mistakes. I hope you can appreciate that. There's nobody out there that doesn't make mistakes. You just got to learn to make fewer and make them in places where you can fix it, or it doesn't really matter, right? And I think that's highly possible for all of us to learn. Sum it up. I'm really careful with these. I want them to look super beautiful because someone put a lot of effort into polishing these, plating them so nicely. I want to keep them that way. I paid good money for it. Customer paid good money for it, I guess, in the end. So far, so good. Plus, this is a good, nice workout, right? Screwing these things in. Yeah. one was acting weird. Like it had never been tapped before. I wonder if I didn't tap it. I'm gonna put some wax on it just to help it. You don't want to break a head off. It's really easy to put the wax on. The wax not that expensive. So I'm just gonna wax that a little bit. See what we end up with now. Much easier there. That's what we should have been feeling. There's another one that could use some wax. You know what I'm going to do? I bet you can guess. I'm just going to wax all the rest of them. Even though I didn't think it was going to need it. I think I already waxed these. Yeah, I did. Good. I don't know how they make these slots look so good when they come back. I could swear these are different screws or they cut the slots new somehow. I don't know. These look brand new. And they're not. These are the original screws this came out. Kind of easy does it. No, you don't have to do this by hand, but I feel like I make fewer mistakes when I do. I'm sorely tempted to get out my drill right now, but I'm gonna keep going. Because I know you're waiting, you know, you're like, come on, this is boring. Or you've already signed off, and I'm like, man. But, oh well. Something I've never observed before, and then doing this work a lot, and I realized when you're snugging a screw and it's kind of, you know, new or tight, you'll snug it and you'll watch it kind of turn backwards on its own like a ghost. I've never noticed that before till I think I was doing plate bolts at some point, or plate screws here. I was like, hey, those are turning the other way by themselves. And then it kind of made sense to me that it would do that, but still, I never knew screws did that. Okay. Hot dog. Okay. We're not done. I'm going to check all those again. First, I'm going to snug these guys down here. All right, now what we need is the perimeter lags. I'm going to put brand new perimeter lags in this thing. Okay. Show you what I'm talking about. All these holes around the edge, I've got brand new ones. I think for this job they said, no, just paint the old ones. I can't bring myself to do that. These new ones are just too beautiful. Everything else is so beautiful. I'm not going to paint the old ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are expensive screws. Very expensive. Look at that, just short one. As if I meant to do that. Okay, now for these I'm going to find a real good socket. And I do want to put wax on all of these. The wax will definitely be important here. If you miss that, it's beeswax. Can you smell that? Yeah, it smells good. I like it. This is not your beeswax. It's my beeswax. Just to clarify. Okay. Isn't this so satisfying? All this bling, all this shine, and nickelness, and goldness, Steinway goldness. This is the traditional Steinway gold color, which I kind of prefer over the brand new one. Plus, I don't know where to get the brand new one. I'd have to match it or try and match it. I don't think they sell it for sure. You don't want to ding up your rim, you know? Again, my goal is to put out products that look like a new and function like a new piano. Interesting. All right, I'm going to find a good socket. It's going to fit those nice and tight. We're going to run those down. I think it's this green one. No, not even close. I think it's this one. No, too loose. I think it's the one that's supposed to fit lag screws on a car. Oh, come on. This one's just barely fits in some, doesn't fit in others. No good. I don't want to ding these up. Yeah, just a little snug. It fits that one, but none of the others. So we continue the search. Let's try this guy. Oh, too loose. I must not be living right. It's just too loose, too scary. Don't worry, I have other sockets. I just thought it would be one of the like 5 that I've used recently on these things, or these pianos. Whoa, I went the wrong direction there. Okay, I'm going to take the screw over to my set and see what we come up with. See what happened here. It's definitely metric. Found it. Found the one. The gold standard here. This is 16 millimeter. I gotta write that down because I use these things a lot, but you'd think I would, but I think you know me by now if you've watched anything. That I may not be the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed sometimes. All right, here we go, hot dog. All right, what do we got here? Battery issue? Nope. It's just a torque issue. This sucks the plate right down, boy. And I don't want to kill it, you know. At this point, I want to make sure that this is low enough. So I'm going to get a mirror. If I get a mirror, I can look under there. And I'm looking at the ledge the ledge of this bolt, I can confirm that, yeah, it's touching the plate. I don't want to put extra strain on the plate as I'm cinching these down. I want this definitely not touching the plate at this point, okay? Okay, which it's not. And that one is not touching the plate either. Neither of those. I just, you don't want to put too much torque on it. The plate can crack if you're not careful. So this will be much better here. This kind of drill, it's a different type of brushless. Brushless something or other. So the clutch on it is a little different. Patience is a virtue. I'll finish these off by hand. I'm not trying to break anything here. I just want to make sure it's definitely secured down around the perimeter. It kind of comes to a clamping stop there, clamps the plate down. Wow, that one's really tight. That's like break off mode. I'm gonna put some more wax on this guy. I'll come back to him. Yeah, I think we're pretty well secure except for that one that I'm gonna redo. Maybe two of them. Doke. That's a little better. These lags will look like they're not all the way down because, let me show you, they're really cool. Let me show you what's going on with these guys. They have a little, like a built-in, a machined-in washer on the bottom. Okay, don't worry, we'll get this. We'll get this. Any minute now. Okay, there we go. Okay. Come on, come on. A machined in, it's like a washer, but it's not. And see how that will hit the plate first, this smaller part underneath? So then from the top, it's not going to crush the paint, but it might look like it's a little higher than the plate. You know, that it's not actually cinching it down when it is, okay? That's the anatomy of those. So, I'm just going to double check those guys. Double check. I think we're there. Again, I'm not trying to kill anything here. But I don't want any buzzes. I don't want anything that's not secured down, right? So I'll kind of jump around here. Okay, so that's the lag screws. Now we need to adjust the height of these. We need to adjust the height of these guys underneath. I wonder if I could get a view of that for you with the right mirror here. What that looks like underneath. I don't know if we will, but we'll give it a shot. So if you look in this mirror, okay, look underneath the plate. Aha! Can you see that okay? It's not in focus, but we can see the ledge underneath there. Oh, we almost got it in focus. We almost focused, but the mirror's too dirty. Anyway, I can look underneath there. Same thing with this one right here, right? I can look and see at the correct angle. I can say, oh, it's touching the plate or it's not touching the plate if I put some more light under there. So I can see that. You can't, but I give you the idea. So I want to raise those up just till they're touching. Till they're just touching. Now, these have a square head on them like a tuning pin, but they break easily. Now I put wax on them, so I think if I'm really careful, I won't break it. But if I do, don't laugh at me, okay? And I can put my finger here to feel when it just touches the plate and starts to raise it. I can also, I can also look under there, right? I can also, makes a crack, crack, crack. I'll take these off here for a sec, so it's not so distracting. If I hit the plate down, that bolt ledge is close enough that the plate is going to knock against it. Like that. If I raise it a little bit, it knocks easier, doesn't knock. That's as far as we want to go, okay? The same thing here. And I can kind of feel resistance too when it hits the plate underneath there. But you can use the mirror too if you're not certain. But I like doing it by feel. Watch, I'll lower it till I get a crack or a knock, right? Like that. And just go up. There. Now it's resting assuredly on both of those, okay? And that's where I want it. So now I can put the cap nuts on there. And the cap nuts have been replated in just a beautiful, gorgeous fashion. I'm going to check and see if we have washers in our mix, because I want to put washers down if we have them. We may not have them. These may not have had any washers to begin with. So sure enough. So we'll just, no washers on these ones, on this piano. Sometimes these are not easy. It's not like a brand new screw and a nut that was made in 2025. Sometimes they're kind of fussy. This one I've taken on and off, and I put some cutting fluid on back when I was doing the bridge, so it might go on a little easier. You know, but I just do as far as I can by hand, and then I'm going to introduce a careful wrench. If I need to. I will do a wrench at the end. But that went down pretty far. Ooh, that hurt. Okay, I'm going to get a wrench for this one. And maybe a drop of cutting fluid. Just a drop. Just a drop of cutting fluid in there. And then I'll get my wrench. See if that lubricates it a little bit. I want to keep these looking beautiful. I want to take my time, be careful around them. Especially while you're watching on the camera, my goodness. So as I'm turning this, I'm actually turning the post under there. So I'm going to need to make sure that I turn that back before I cinch this tight, and that I confirm on the bottom that the plate's supported by it, okay? So what I'm saying is this nut is turning that lag that's into the post down there. It stopped doing it now. It just did it a little bit, but still, like I want to make sure it's on it before I finish off here. See there, it went to turn it again a little bit. I'm talking about, I can see it because, right, this is open on the top, and I can see that there. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Might as well. We're in this together. All right, here we go. Turn. Well, now it's not going to do it now that you're watching, but it was turning a little bit. So I don't want to destroy something, so I'm going to set you back on the tripod. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cinch this one. I'm not cranking it, I'm just making sure it's secure. We get my mirror to look and see if it's, just to confirm that it's touching the plate. It is. This one is not touching the plate. See? Good thing I checked. You might think like, oh, I had it in position and then I just put the nut on, but because the nut was so tight, it totally changed that. So, where did my little hammer go? Now, if you don't have screw wax and you're doing this, or you're worried it's going to break, you can turn it from the bottom underneath the piano with a wrench also. Now I'm turning the inside thing here. Let's see here. See how I got a knock, but I had to hit really hard? See, it turned down a lot on me there, okay? So you have this thing so that you can turn against it. I should have done that from the start. But you do have to be ultra careful. I can't stress that enough on these. It's really easy to break the tips of those off. So I'm just going to hold this whilst I tighten against it. I don't even think that's got the plate yet. And furthermore, it turned it still when I wasn't looking. Well, it did it earlier. There we go. I gotta really be vigilant here. I don't know what this thing's problem is, but the plating adds thickness to it, so that can sometimes contribute to what we're noticing here. Oh, you like that? See, it's not snug on the plate. I don't like it. I'm gonna pull it off, try and clean it out a little bit. See if we can get that to turn a little more freely. It's just too scary. Come on, man. Okay. Let me see what's going on here. Turn this over here. Just inspecting here. Okay, everything looks good. Let me turn that off. Turn that back out and see what's going on. I might have a tap I can run through this to ease it up. I'm going to check that, or there might be some debris. It might just be the second time around we put it on. It'll work out better. Figure it out. These are old parts we're dealing with, you know. It can be a little bit of a pain. Sometimes I've had to get a machinist to do work on a part here or there if it won't cooperate with me. So that's a thing.
wondering if this head. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find a tap for it. Free this up. Okay, let me go look for that. Here. Inspect. All right, I'll be right back. Okay. Let's take a look and see if we can figure something out with what we have on hand. Threading. Well, I might be able to just kind of brush it out and lubricate it and get what we need to get, but it's just so tight. It's dangerously tight. That's going on better. There just was some debris in there, I guess. Now I can tighten it with my hand all the way. Okay. Don't need the tap. Whatever was there, we fixed it. All right. Well, sometimes, sometimes problems just solve themselves, I guess. I need to get in there with my light. I want to go a little higher. Let's see what we're at there. That should be just touching right there. Go down a little bit. Yep, sure enough. Okay. Okay, now we're just touching. Now I'm going to have to hold this. Well, now that I can tighten it down by hand, may not be such a big deal, huh? But I will hold this while I tighten it with the wrench. Man, scary stuff. If you run that, I heard a pop and it freaked me out. I thought I cracked the plate, but I'm looking at it, I didn't crack the plate. But that could happen. You got to be careful. And then finding someone who can weld this cast steel is not easy, and then it's not cheap. I think it cost me $900 one time for them to do a weld on a plate. And they were only here for like an hour or something. Okay, so now we shouldn't have any. Should be snug, both of those. Whew! I was sweating. I was sweating. Okay, now we're gonna Now we're going to run up these guys under these things here. Let's see if I can try and get you down where you can like see what's happening there. See how that's not touching? We're looking at this lag over there. Oh, I'll get back over. It's not touching yet, this strut. And we're going to bring it up just to supporting. Okay. And you're going to see it and I can't see it. Well, I guess I can if I do that. Okay. Let me do that. Am I even getting close? I'm getting close. Getting close. Still not touching. There, now it's touching right there. I'll do the same to the other side. And I can check it with my mirrors. These mirrors are my best friend as far as this stuff. Okay, now I'm going to show you the secret. Okay, this is a legitimate secret that I'm going to show you. Okay, check this out. How do I get this nut? Here, I'll bring you over here. How do I get this nut? Zoom out a bit. All right, this thing, I can run it down here to tighten it, but it's not going to be very tight just by my hands. It's slippery, and you'll see these pianos that have been rebuilt, and you see vice grip marks on there. I've tried leather to protect it, and then I discovered, I don't remember who shared this with me, or if I came up with it, I don't even remember. But this is the idea. I'm going to take my wrench down here. I'm going to go down and follow it. Then I'm going to, I'm going to go down and hold this. I'm sorry, I'm going to go the other way. Okay, this with the bottom one, I'm going to turn up into the nut and hold the nut still and go back and forth a few times until it's extremely tight on there. Okay, you follow? So now it's like, it's really tight. You can't get it that tight with just your hands. You just go back and forth and hold the nut still on top as you're turning up into it. So you go down first, then you go back to your position. Down, back to your position until it's tight. Okay, so now shouldn't get any weird jangle or anything off of this, you know? Something's under there. Let's go see what it is. Something is under our piano. Or it's the bridge pin. Yeah, it's the bridge. When I do that, that's a beautiful drum sound, drum-like sound. Here, let me zoom you out, sorry. Beautiful drum-like sound. Resonance, right? That's what we want, is a drum, basically. But these bridge pins here are high enough right under here. If I hit it hard, it comes back up and it's hitting this plate strap. But with the pressure of the strings, not going to do that. Okay, so the strings will push down on that bridge considerably, taking it down about 4 millimeters lower than it is once the strings are tight. Okay, we're getting places, we're getting places. So we've got all the hardware on. This is, I'm going to double check in my mind. I'm going to just check these screws and the webbing here one more time. Just go through them, and if there's anything that needs to be snugged, allow it to snug up. Just a little bit. Don't want to damage them, and just want it tight. So I'm not having to push very hard to snug these. It's just that with all the fasteners now in place, and with it at the correct height and everything, it brings it all down a little further than when I first turned these screws in. Just like lug nuts, okay? So I'm just cycling through again, and that should be it. I'll check again, but I think that should be it. They should be tight all through after that, okay? And I was liking the sound of that soundboard. That's the way it should sound, you know, at this stage of the game. The plate fastened and tightened. Well, that was my one slip up, but it didn't mark it too bad over there. I slipped up a little bit tightening one of those screws, but it's okay. I'll just check, but these should be snug now. I got a little more off this side, okay. Sure, why not? Just easing it into being really secure. Well, that's why I checked again, because some of these I was able to snug a little bit more. For the most part, not. Okay, before we go further with the stringing prep, well, I guess it's part of the stringing prep. We can't drive tuning pins in if there's no tuning pin holes. We got to put the tuning pin holes in there. So we're going to do that. And the night is still young. Look at that. Except the time changed and I didn't change my clock in here, and I keep looking at it and thinking I have an hour longer than I do. So okay, those are snug. I'll do one last perimeter check here. Okay, that plate. It's very boomy to me. I don't know how it sounds in the camera microphone, but it's booming. Okay, time to get this pin block ready to drill. So first we need to put a divot right where we want in the center of each of these holes, okay? So some pianos that's easier said than done because the holes might be of different size throughout the piano. Try one smaller than this. I want to say this one's it, but I don't want to be hitting into a plate, right? You know what I mean? If it's too tight. Okay, let me go get, I think that's it though. Let me go get my special hammer. Or this one will do. Show you what I'm doing here. Just gonna put a divot in all these holes. No, that's not gonna work. I have to use one smaller. One size smaller, and I'm gonna just push the punch back towards the back of the hole. All these. It's a weird feel. Trying to feel what I'm. Okay, it's doing a job. The reason I don't just hit it hard, one on each one, is when I hit it hard on the first hit, it seems like sometimes it'll slide and it won't be where I want. The strings are going to pull the tuning pins that way with great force. So since this punch is a tiny bit smaller than these holes, I'm pushing it up against the side that's closest to me. And I'm also leaning it away from me just a tiny bit to get the divot close to the back of the hole. The holes are drilled at a 7-degree angle from the horizon. This way. So the top of the pin is leaning back so that when the string pulls it, it's not going beyond center. It's just going, if anything, up to center. I think that's the reason for that engineering of that angle. Could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. This divot, above all else, is going to determine where that hole ends up when I drill, okay?
I want to show you the pin block, what it looks like, sort of. If you've never seen what a pin block, how it's made, we've got layers of hard rock maple with grain orientation. See here, we see the straight grain on those layers, and then we flip it and we see the reverse, okay? So the idea is that end grain is going to grab the tuning pins all the way around. So that's the pin block, what it looks like if you're curious. And the pin is more or less just fit in there by, you know, a larger peg in a smaller hole. The threading doesn't keep it in there. Threading is just so you can get the pins in and out as needed. Mostly just out. And this is really hard wood. It's very dense. These pin blocks are very heavy. I get them from Canada, and I hope I can still get them from Canada for a reasonable price, depending on what's going on here with the cost of it to move it across the border. But anyway, really good stuff. It's the same thing that Steinway uses originally, only you can't buy a pin block from Steinway right now. But this is basically what it is. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the maker of these blocks also supplied Steinway with their blocks, but just in their configuration, their patented configuration. Their patented configuration, it'll say hexagrip, and that's where you have 6 ply. This is 5 ply, so that's the only difference. And a lot of times in the Steinway blocks, that 6 ply is ground off anyway, planed off for thickness. So, I don't know. It feels very, very similar to me as the new Steinway pianos. But my drilling process, you know, might be a little different too. So that could play a part. But this is as close as we can get, as the pin block, the material is as close as we can get to what Steinway would be using that I'm aware of today. Okay. Now the thing I like about the way I drill pin blocks after the plate is already set, the pin block's glued in, nothing's moving from this point other than if the strings pull something a little bit. So the holes can be centered and I can be at ease that it's going to be perfect, you know, as I can do. So I really didn't know that we were going to have to drill this block when I started filming tonight, so sorry about that. Like, where's the stringing? We're getting to the stringing. But this is more exciting to me anyway, drilling this thing.
I've gone through a lot of R&D, a lot of efforts to get the machine that I have and the system. So it's something I'm proud of and I enjoy working with. And it's a key component to the structure of the piano, the pin block is. It's incorporated. When I hit the pin block, you know, it makes a noise. Okay, so let me show you what those divots look like after we put them in the wood. Wow, y'all are hanging out with me tonight. This is great, thanks. See the divots that we put there in the center? And the desire is that the drill bit will follow those divots. Okay. Bear in mind that the camera lens, you know, only these like right here are you seeing the right perspective that you're directly over right now, okay? These look askew because of the angle of the lens, okay? So when you look straight down in these holes, you can only look at a certain part of the screen to see, you know, whether it's centered or whatever, all right? So there's those divots. Now we're going to get our setup going to drill the pin block. So you got to move some pianos around a little bit. This one's got to go on sawhorses because it's not on its legs. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but that piano over there has special legs. It's a Steinway art case. Modern, mid-century modern piano here that I own and that will be rebuilt and sold, which is being rebuilt and sold. But I have to somehow, so I don't have the legs. I have to somehow get this off of this cart so I can use the cart for the other piano. So let me get a sawhorse. Okay. This will be a little sketchy. A little bit sketchy here. Whew, got it. Okay. Now, I think I'll jack up the back here. If I were smarter, I would have scooted that over first, but I'm not smarter. So, I think I'm going to put my other sawhorse under here for safety, a little more reliable. I made these sawhorses with a 2x4 and a nail gun like years and years ago.
but they served me well. Okay. Okay, we got it. Yay. Okay, now I'm going to stick that cart under this black piano we're working on. And this is a great setup. I love this setup. So I'm going to cart here. Put that close to the right height. Get this on here. Push that in. Over. Now, where'd you go? There you are. Hey, how's it going? Okay, so now we're ready to drill the pin block. So I'm going to do-si-do these two pianos here and get this piano under the drill. At least that one doesn't have a plate in it, so it's a little lighter to move. Okay. Now, before we get into this, let me show you my drill here thing. I've shown this before, but anyway, we're going to roll this under this drill. And this drill is going to ride on these tracks here. And the side, it grabs it kind of tight, side to side. Like a little tighter than I would prefer. I'm going to rub some graphite with a chip brush on there a little bit before I start doing this. I think that'll make this job a lot more pleasant and smoother to drill. So I'm going to grab that graphite. Get this piano well out of the way. I'm not going to put a ton on.
right? I don't want to make a mess of this, but there's already maybe some lubricant on there, a little bit. If there's any machine friends out there that would have a good idea for a good lubricant for this application, I would definitely be all ears for that. I think the powder graphite so far, what I've tried, has worked the best, but so it's black, right? So that's not necessarily ideal. But let's see what we got here. Okay. Just gonna get this going. Oh, that's very smooth. I'm gonna blow any excess graphite off the top of that. Okay, pretty awesome. All right, so now we roll our piano under there. And, oh, got ahead of myself. I need one more piece from the other side. Be right back from the other side. Okay, now we will roll the piano under there. Good thing that's poly and can be repaired easily. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. My bad. Okay. So here. You can adjust the tension on this guy. There, they're about the same X and Y, which I like. That's nice. All right, I'm gonna plug in my air. If you haven't seen this setup, it's kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to take this. Is that on screen? I'm going to take this cart, this hydraulic cart from the cheap hardware store, and I've made that wood cart with bottle jacks, 3 bottle jacks around, so I can level the piano side to side, front to back. Now I'm going to stick this cart under my other cart, and I flip the handle around so it can get out of our way, and then I can jack the piano up to the level of the drill where it needs to be. Like so. Alright, for right now, I want to level the thing. Okay. So just so happens I have a level, as you can imagine. All right, so you know, I filmed from that side before. We're gonna go from this side. Okay, anyway, back up here. Sorry, I'm deciding what I want to do. Okay, so this level is gonna carefully be here. And I'm gonna level the piano with the bottle jacks. Okay. There's my side to side, and I've already leveled the machine and set it so that the angle on the drill will be correct. Okay, you follow? I level the piano side to side, front to back. That makes this 7° that I can put on the machine correct for the. And man, I'm just telling you everything. I don't know if I should. Oh well. Okay. Anyway, these are all the secrets, man. Okay. Let me see if our tripod's. Oh, we were not to our full height with the tripod. That is what's going on here. Do you feel a little bit taller now? Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here and stick my I have all these custom-made drill bushings, and I'm gonna see if they're gonna be a good fit for this piano. There's a time to use these, a time not to use these. And I think we're fine with this particular plate configuration. I have other methods for other types of, because sometimes these holes are deeper, shallower, smaller, bigger, beveled, not beveled, you know, and so this is not a, these bushings aren't a one-size-fits-all option, but boy, they really help guide the process in a case like this. If you want some of these, I can sell them to you. You just have to contact me through my website, saltlakepianoservice.com, and say, hey, I want some pin block drilling bushings, and I can get you a price and figure that out depending on where you are and everything. But I had a friend help me design these and develop them, and they work well for me, and I know there's other ways to do this. Other people have cheaper setups that do really well, you know, but this is my setup and I love it. All right, here. So I'm just going to stick these in these holes. Now, the bushing isn't really the main factor. Remember, I just said this, but I'm going to repeat it. The main factor in centering the hole is the divot that you put in there, and then to make sure that your drill doesn't walk as you're finding that divot and going into the block. So these bushings do help the drill bit not to walk. Uh, in some situations more successfully than others, like I was saying. And sometimes the paint is so thick, it's hard to get them in. I try to remember before the plate is refinished to, if needed, drill these holes out so that we can use these bushings if we want to use them. Now, the finish on these plates is traditionally a satin. It's not a high gloss. And I think that looks really classy. And so we refinish it in the traditional way with the satin, traditional Steinway gold. And I think it looks really good. For whatever reason, to me, the super high gloss plate finish generic gold look, it just screams cheap piano to me. So I don't like the look of it. I don't know why that is, but it's just the pianos that I've been around probably more, right? What I'm used to seeing and associating with quality pianos. But not that the paint makes any difference to the sound. It's just cosmetic. So I'll check and see if anyone's chatted any chats. I'm just curious here. Okay. Do I reapply the original serial number after and finish? Yes, I do. How a piano is put together. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Poly finish. Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that, but there's an excellent refinisher. Of course, that has a shop here in Utah. His brother finishes some of the pianos in here, in my shop, but we don't do poly. It's not a great setup for that. So the poly was done at this company. It's called Premier Refinishing in Linden, Utah. It's worth shipping the piano to get it done there. Smaller operation, high quality, excellent value. Tell him I sent you. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any arrangement with them for. I don't think he would care if I gave him a referral or not, honestly. But but you can refer your rebuilds to me. Salt Lake will pick up in the lower 48. We'll ship the piano to and fro and provide a free estimate if they contact me. If you refer someone, I'll give you a finder's fee. This is something I enjoy a lot, and I hope to be making it kind of the mainstay of my work in conjunction with the concert work that I do for tuning and the new piano prep. I feel like those three things help me keep an edge on the current aesthetics and help me not lose touch with what a really nice piano sounds like, with what a Steinway sounds like, with what they're producing now, any innovations that they're introducing. And they are introducing innovations. They're adopting innovations from the German Steinways, which I really value. And I think it's I think we're going in a good direction. Is, you know, for a shrinking market of pianos, we have a good thing in these pianos that I'm working on here. I'm grateful for them. Kind of late at night here, but it's really peaceful. It's quiet now. And I'm working at an interesting hour, but that's just kind of the nature of the business sometimes, the way I choose to run it. kind of like to be a free spirit a little bit. I dream of a machine that has high definition video sensors and can CNC this whole thing custom, no matter what the configuration of the tuning pin holes, and just nail it center. Boy, wouldn't that be sweet? But I mean, I don't have 10,000 pianos this year that I'm going to do to pay for a machine like that. So just have to let that dream stay in my mind. I love machines. Boy, if I could get my hands on anything that automated a lot of what I do, and or kind of worked with the operator that way, you know, combined certain method with automation, that would just be exciting to me. Some people might wonder how much it costs to restore a Steinway Grand. You know, most jobs we do are between just about 30,000 to 50,000 and upwards, depending on the size of piano and what components are being replaced. $50,000 would get you new soundboard, just about everything else replaced, and the piano refinished like new. Just if you're curious. Okay. Look, I had one extra after that. So now setting this up to drill, it's really not that bad. I mean, we pretty much have it set up. I'm going to raise the piano a little bit more. I want to raise the drill bit close to the bushings, but with enough room to clear chips and to move around without scraping or getting stuck. Maybe just a tiny bit closer. And then I'm going to check that my depth goes all the way through the block. I'm going to lower my bit and look down here. It does go through. My machine is powered up. I've got air. I've got a bit chiller here to keep the bit cool. I mean, we're pretty much in business. This might be a good time though to get a Coke. I don't know. Let me see. I want to see if I can hook you up at a different view here where you can see the action a little better. I'm going to shorten my tripod. Okay. We're just going to get this guy really short. Let's see what that does for us, if anything. Obviously, you can't be in the way of the drilling, right? That would not work out so well. But I can kind of zoom in here. Yeah. Let me just kind of do, but I think the tripod might be in the way of my, yeah, it is. All right, let's try something else. Something else. Let's see here. That's not happening. Sorry, I'm wandering all around. I'm trying to decide how to get you a good view of that and not have you be in my way. Well, just try what we did before. just adjusting tripod legs here if you're wondering why I'm spinning you all around. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Up and nice and high. And you'll get an action not when it's right in there on the you'll get to it here pretty quick, right? That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay. So I think we're good. I'm going to turn on my air here. You're not going to be able to hear me. I'm not going to talk while I do this. And you're going to be a little bit in my way for the first few holes. But I'm just going to have to deal with that. So that first section went really smooth. I looked really centered for the most part. No, I mean like totally centered actually. I was trying to think if I saw one that I didn't like. On the camera, it looked like just because it was dark on my display, that they're perfect as far as my tolerances are concerned. So sweet. So now we move on. Next section here, we've got section to go here. The times they are Forgot an important step after you use the drill. Very important step. Show how many times we've used this bit. Remark this one and put a third. I think I'm only going to go one more on this bit and then get a new one. You're supposed to be able to use them more. I mean, they're amazing. I mean, if you took a regular drill bit to this hard maple multi-laminated block and tried it would burn like the dickens. This bit just tears through it like softer than butter, like air. It's pretty amazing. So we draw ever nearer to our goal of stringing. Let me show you. I'll show you where our holes are, how they ended up. I can tell you right now, they look really good from here so far. And you know what? I've drilled a hole off here or there, but it's never been such that I felt like I had to plug it or something or do something weird. You know, it would still work, but boy, I sure like it was perfectly consistent. My back. It's a little bit touchy tonight. You've seen the weird positions I sit in when I tune, and it's kind of, you know, it's problematic. So they cut a slot in this key bed already for a player piano system that's going on it. So a bunch of my drill bushings fell through. I hope I can retrieve them. They're not super cheap. They're not disposable, that's for sure. Yeah, the chips that these bits make are just so, like, you know, big, chunking. It just rips that wood right out of there. This hole that we're drilling is significantly smaller than the size of the diameter pin that's going in here. And that's for the first time, you know, first time you put a pin in a hole in a block like this, it's going to deform a lot more. And then after that, it doesn't deform very much. So if you were going to restring it down in the future with a larger pin, you don't need quite a difference in diameter at all. But I mean, we're talking 25 thousandths different, maybe even a little more. Think through that. I'm just getting these drill bushings off the plate. I want to show you the holes. I'm excited to show you.
Okay. Let me blow the chips off of these, off of the plate here. Just so I can show off our handiwork here. All right, what do we got? I will show you what we got. My battery is at a narrow, struggling 6%. All right, this is the base. That's note number one. I already showed you the base section, but there it is, perfectly centered, and so on and so forth.
Now I'm going to zoom out a bit here. Now remember, just look when the camera passes directly over the hole. That'll give you an idea. Okay. Now if I unplug this camera, it will turn off. But see, those are centered perfectly in the holes everywhere. All right. Looks good to me. Good to you. Me to you. We've got some tuning pin holes perfectly centered. You have to kind of look at remember, only the one where the camera passes directly in line with the hole. Otherwise, you're kind of viewing it off askew a little bit. Those are just beautifully centered holes, okay? If anything, some of them are a little towards the back a tiny bit, like this top one there, which is what we did on purpose, because the strings will pull it for this pin forward. Okay. Wow, wow, wow. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to continue this tomorrow. We're going to keep going towards stringing. And I'm going to get an early start, and I'll have the camera going. So we'll see you then. Thanks. Adios. Oh, let me check the chat. Anyone say anything important? Do I do my own? No, I don't do polyester work. It's outsourced to Premier Refinishing in Linden, Utah. Okay. All right. Okay, thanks, guys. See you later.